welcome to this backstroke workshop and discussion we've got. We've got two people that don't really need a great deal of introduction, two absolutely world-class backstrokers. We've got on the call James Goddard. James was double European junior gold medalist, European short course champion in the 200 IM, triple Commonwealth gold medalist, three-time Olympic qualifier and three-time Olympic finalist. We've also got Luke Greenbank on the call. Luke was also European junior gold medalist in the 100 200 back, bronze medal at World Championships in the 200 backstroke, and world gold medalist in the 4x1 medley relay. So welcome, guys. Thanks so much for getting on this call. I'm sure you're going to impart a massive amount of knowledge on our young and up-and-coming backstrokers, and I'm sure it'll be really interesting. I'm going to pretty much leave you to it now and let you go for it. So thank you very much.
Cheers, Rich.
Cheers.
I guess I'll kick off first off, Luke. How's lockdown treating you?
Yeah, obviously quite different, quite difficult. I'm in quite a fortunate position in the fact that I've got quite a bit of equipment.
I've noticed, yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit of equipment with me.
I saw your Instagram story, yeah.
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 So I've got a watt bike and stuff, and I've got access to like an endless type pool. So yeah, I'm doing quite well. I'm obviously looking forward to getting back into the pool, and getting out and about a bit. But I know it can't be rushed, so I'm pleased with what I've got, and I realise I'm in quite a fortunate position. Nice.
Yeah, no, I was looking at your Instagram today, and something that's pretty cool over social media, I think, at the minute is like the swimming world's really come together. I was quite surprised of how clubs and swimmers and coaches and everyone's just kind of like, these Zoom meetings have had a big impact, I think, as well. But I've done a couple of interviews with Hamilton Aquatics and Wrexham Swimming Club as well, and how it's kind of brought everyone together.
Yeah.
Really, really well. Like, I mean, because I think something that's quite, I don't know how you felt about this, but when I was swimming at Stockport, and you're obviously with Mel at Loughborough, everyone's kind of separate and everyone kind of does their own thing. And I know it kind of has to be like that in a way.
Yeah.
But this kind of lockdown in a weird way has kind of brought all the clubs a bit closer, I think.
Yeah, I think everyone can kind of relate to each other. Certainly with us, like at Loughborough, we're on Zoom meetings like this every day. We're constantly in contact with one another as we're training at home. And yeah, like even my old club at Cockermouth, I did a Zoom chat with them, and they were really interested to kind of hear about what I'm doing. And they've had a few other people on. I know Joe and Max Litchfield have been on talking to them, and Mel. So yeah, I think it's a good time to because there's not a lot we can do on our own, if it makes sense. I think a lot of people are trying to come together. I've seen a lot on social media about people who have made their own kind of pools in the back garden with a bungee.
Yeah, I've seen that,
yeah.
It's like a band holding them at the back while they're trying to pull it.
Yeah. So I think it's good to kind of share ideas and try and get through this difficult time the best that everyone can, because it's going to benefit everyone.
Definitely. Something that was pretty big for me growing up was, and Rich was at Stockport as well, obviously, head coach there. Something that was pretty big for me growing up was my teammates. Training with those guys every day, bouncing off them in training, competing with each other in training, in the pool, in the gym, having a great time out of the pool as well, which is really important, going to restaurants and having meals and blah, 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 maybe a party. But now that you're on your own, obviously in lockdown, and I've noticed this on Instagram as well, you've got this nice pool, like this endless pool, flume thing. I don't know exactly what it's called. And I saw Mel from Mel's story. She was kind of running the session.
Yeah.
Are you finding it quite hard on your own? Like, you find it hard on your own? Not being with your teammates, not training, and not bouncing off each other the same way that you could.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is one of the most underestimated things in sport, to be honest, having a good team around you.
Definitely, yeah.
Obviously, like I said, I'm in a very fortunate position to have that pool and all the equipment, but I would trade it back immediately to go back and train with my team. And yeah, that is such a big influence and such a big impact on certainly my swimming. I know I've got Mel there at the end of the pool on the Zoom call and all that, but it's not quite the same as having someone right next to you. And if I look back at my time at Cockermouth, I think a lot of what kept me going and motivated in training was the people that I had around me. We were all kind of similar standard at the time, and we pushed each other the best we could be. And yeah, we're still really good mates now. Still talk to each other. So yeah, it is interesting to see those kind of lifelong bonds you make with the people that you train with. I don't know about you, but
yeah, because it's a roller coaster, isn't it? It's a mad roller coaster, and I don't think people realise the amount of training that has to go in. And you know, physically it hurts. You know, physically swimming's a hard sport to train for. I'm sure, you know, most sports are. But I think swimming's quite unique in a way that it's so tough, you know, to keep swimming up and down the pool all day. You know, sometimes it can feel like, you know, especially during winter time. For me, winter was a nightmare. It was really tough. But, you know, those long winter months of swimming up and down the pool, like, what's kind of keeping you motivated right now? Like when you get in this endless pool, like how do you kind of keep the motivation going?
For me, I think it's trying to see the bigger picture. So obviously, was aiming for Olympics this summer. Now it's been moved back a year, but I've tried to see that as a positive. Like judging from last year, I improved a lot. And if I know if I can carry on that trajectory through this time and carry on into next year, then I'll be in a better place next year than I would have been this summer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, as annoying as it is and as rubbish as it is training at home and not being able to see everyone, I think it's important to have that goal in mind and to kind of use that to motivate yourself to do the work, and just think that for me, I'm going to be in a better position next year than I would have been this year. Yeah.
So that's kind of your main motivation, just think about the end kind of goal.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's swimmers up and down the country are really sure, because it's so easy in lockdown just to like whack on Netflix or you know, jump on the Xbox or, you know, just watch TV, whatever it is. You know, you've just got to keep that. That's why I think swimming's, because I mean, I try and compare it to, I've always throughout my career trying to compare it to football, where football players have their main competition every weekend, right? So, because I don't know how competitive you are, I'll ask you to set, but like, footballers have their competition every week, don't they? Like they'll have their match. Where swimmers, like we can go for like 2 or 3 months. We do like the odd little competition here and there, but we can go like 2 or 3 months with like no big competition. So sometimes it's like no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I think with that as well, there can be added pressure. Having all your competitions on one specific date. I mean, I know footballers are obviously going to feel a lot of pressure for matches every weekend, but to have everything on in one date,
hinged on the one swim almost.
Yeah, exactly. In some cases, every 4 years at the Olympics. Like
if you're slightly off, if you're slightly injured or under the weather, or do you know what I mean? Like you're not quite in the right shape.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of game over, isn't it? It's like it's crazy.
So that can be a bit daunting, I think, but I think there is a lot of that kind of learning to deal with that comes from experience, and certainly from my point of view, I've learned a lot kind of a lot more in the years where I haven't been swimming well, transitioning between junior and senior. I learned a lot more that has put me in a better place now, and at the time it was rubbish. Like I still enjoyed swimming and everything, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. But coming off the back of last year, I can look back and say, would that have happened if I hadn't learned this or this or this?
Yeah, for sure.
No,
I mean, it's really easy to kind of think back over your mistakes and you seem to learn. Like, I mean, when a swimmer's swimming well, it feels like you're on top of the world. You feel great. Like even like as seniors, if you do a personal best time by 0.1 of a second, you're like, okay, it's a PB. Like I'm happy. But like going through those big mistakes and making those big mistakes, I think you're right. I think you do learn a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Do well all the time for sure.
Yeah,
wicked. So I mean, I wanted to talk a little bit about, because you had a pretty good junior career. I know Rich mentions, we both were European junior champion. Like for me, my junior, growing up as a junior at Stockport, and the team that I had and the training that we did and the competitions that we went to had a massive impact on my senior career. Like, I mean, it was, I mean, how important was the junior, growing up through the juniors for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had a really good setup at Cockermouth that I think set me up as well as I could have done for my junior career. Like it was interesting because I wasn't spoiled with lane space
Yeah,
or anything like that. It was kind of 10 in a lane, 4 lane, 25-meter pools.
it's crazy. That's
Water
crazy.
splashed off the side and came back
Yeah,
in,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it was wavy as anything. Um, so yeah, it's I think that kind of set me up. And at the time, I was like, "Oh, this is rubbish. I could well, I couldn't run a 50-meter pool, but there are people training 50-meter pools and all this." But
Yeah,
looking back, I wouldn't change that because I think it was kind of character building.
yeah,
And then in terms of my like sort of junior swimming, like my performances, for me, I didn't cruise through, but I had like a good junior career, and that was kind of good to get those kind of experiences. So obviously going off to European juniors, European games, and World Juniors, that Youth Olympics, that kind of stuff. That kind of set me up for an understanding of what senior swimming was going to be like in terms of the competition side of things, like 5-day meet, traveling, all that kind of stuff. I think that did me well, but transitioning into senior for me was quite difficult and it was a little bit of a shock to the system. I think coming off the back of a really good junior career, I kind of expected to just transition smoothly.
yeah,
And it doesn't work like that.
yeah,
I mean, some people it does work like that, but for me it didn't.
yeah,
Obviously, moving away from home was like definitely the right choice. I think my old coach Sean definitely encouraged me to do that because he thought it was the right choice as well.
yeah,
But there's a lot of different factors that you've got to kind of take into account that I didn't at the time. So obviously living on my own for the first time, I mean, I was with other people, but I had a lot more responsibilities that kind of maybe took up my time, and then I was going into a new program maybe that wasn't quite as similar to my old one as it should have been. But I think if I was to give any advice to younger swimmers who are leaving home and moving to another program, I would say kind of don't have too many expectations, but to maximize your kind of what's the word, potential going forward. I would have a kind of a talk with your coach to be to kind of transition smoothly into that program. If you know something works for you, then talk to them about it. Can we keep this in? I want to change this, that kind of stuff.
yeah. I mean, you had a different. I mean, mine was pretty smooth actually. My transition from juniors to senior was really smooth actually. I'm sure there's some people that struggle with it, like yourself, a little bit. Some people who don't do it. I mean, I've known some junior swimmers who were amazing at European juniors, like won, and then never kind of progressed onto the senior scene. Mine was really smooth. I mean, my club, where I was at, I was really fortunate. I had some great teammates and I had some senior teammates as well who kind of helped, me transition. Had the 50-meter pool with the short course as well. So maybe that's why mine was a little bit, maybe smoother.
Yeah.
But it was, but yeah, I mean, just for me thinking about European juniors, like it's interesting because like I remember looking back and I was always really nervous at European at juniors at a junior level. I found it really nerve-wracking. I don't know about you, but like going up for a final at the National Age Group Championships, I almost found it just as nervous, if not more nervous, than like walking out with Michael Phelps in an Olympic final, because they're all, first of all, they're all like people your same age, aren't you? They're all 15-year-olds. They're all 15, and like if you don't want to get beat by people your same age, so I think for me, like doing all these junior meets really kind of helped me deal with those nerves and deal with that kind of pressure that you were talking about before, like dealing with that pressure and dealing with that expectation. It really kind of helped me when I got to that senior level. I knew my routine. I knew like when, how to prepare for a race. I knew what warm-up I had to do, what I was going to say to my coach, race tactics, all that sort of stuff comes into play. But it did make a massive, massive impact for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if I look at my experiences with nerves, as a junior, I didn't really I didn't get that nervous. I mean, I obviously got a little bit nervous, but it wasn't too bad. And then as I kind of went into that transition phase where I wasn't swimming that well, all I can remember was being nervous for races, and maybe overthinking things.
Yeah.
And
that's quite a big thing in overthinking, isn't it? I've been with a lot of overthinking swimmers, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. The thing that helped me was actually after Europeans in 2018, where I didn't really swim great. I didn't make the final. I was kind of expecting to make the final and do well, but I didn't swim my best by any means. And Mel kind of sat me down and said, right, next year we're going to kind of do this. We're going to look at this way. We're going to change this. We're going to have, and it was kind of a little bit of a shake up with my training and all that. But for me, having that, so I went into doing a lot more meters per week. I was doing like a lot harder sets. One of the things that I can remember was 10-400 backstroke every week. So stuff like that, it just kind of built my confidence week on week on week. I kind of compared that, what I was doing to where I was the year before, and I was miles ahead. And then when it came to racing at trials and world championships, I felt so much better. I felt really relaxed. The nerves weren't really there. It was more of an excitement rather than kind of the nervousness. So for me, I think that training and gaining that confidence week on week on week, that's what helped me deal with the nerves. And I know it'll be different for everyone. But yeah, that's kind of my experience with it, really.
Yeah, I mean, people do handle nerves. I mean, Becky Adlington won't mind me saying, like, she got really nervous before races. Like she actually didn't really like racing that much. And she had to deal with it in her own way. And maybe somebody can ask her how she dealt with it. But it was, people deal with it in different ways. And I think growing up through that junior, you kind of learn that, how to deal with it, how to deal with that pressure. So when you get to the senior level, it's kind of like, it's kind of, because like when you go to the Olympics or these big competitions like the World Champs or Europeans, whatever it might be, commies, you don't really want to do anything different, do you? You don't want to kind of like, don't want to eat different food or go to bed at a different time or, do different training sets. It's kind of just the same thing, but in Athens or Beijing or Rio or wherever it might be, it's kind of just the same thing. Got that good routine, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, people kind of deal with it in different ways. So for me, I just like to think of it as kind of four lengths. I do it hundreds of times a day in training.
That's it. And I think that's an important point we just made there in training.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids and adults, whoever watch, they kind of see this final product, don't they? They see like these swimmers winning medals and they're breaking world records and British records, whatever it might be. But it's actually in training where it counts. Practicing it in day out. I don't know about you, so obviously doing a backstroke, when you practice your doing a backstroke in training, what sort of things do you think about? Do you think about stroke rate or pacing or technique or all of them? Like, do you work on all the different aspects? Like what's kind of like your thought process in training there?
I think we do quite a lot of work with everything really. But for me, I think the most important thing for backstroke is actually rhythm. I think once I find that rhythm and get that stroke connected with the water, that's when I kind of come into my element, if you like.
So like stroke rate, like does Mel get you stroke rate, or is it more?
Occasionally, yeah. We mainly work on kind of pace and time. I know what my strokes rates are, so I think around like 40 to 45. And
the same for me. If it was like 40 to 42, we're kind of in the zone there. Yeah.
And like it might go up and down a little bit, but if you look at the kind of statistics from my best races, it's around kind of 40. And that for me,
if it drops below 40, it might be a slight problem, but I think we're pretty similar. Yeah.
For me, like that kind of rate, if I go slower than that, I'm not going fast enough, and if I go faster than that, I'm not catching the water.
Yeah, you're spinning too much. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So.
I think we used to do a lot on pacing, like hitting target times in training for sure. And stroke rate, like Sean used to get our stroke rate a lot, especially when we're doing the pace work. If we did, some back end speed work where we're working the back 50 of the 200 back, he would time us obviously. Like I'd want to try and obviously go under 30. Like for me, like my back end was maybe my weakest, so I'd want to try and come back maybe 29 low would be okay.
Yeah.
would be pretty good. But we'd want to get our stroke rates as well, you know. So we kind of did a bit of both, kind of a bit of everything.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I'd say the main thing we do is kind of rhythm and pacing.
Right. Okay.
So at times, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, if my stroke doesn't look right, or it looks like I'm slipping the water a little bit, Mel will say, right, just focus on power rather than rate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And stuff like that.
How much? Because I interviewed Adam last year, and I'm a big advocate for working on technique all the time. Like I was, you know, I mean, Stockport, very technical based. Like we'd work on technique a lot, very specific things sometimes, in my backstroke especially. And when I was speaking to Adam about it, he didn't really seem to say that he would work too much on backstroke. It was more like pacing and like hitting certain times. And he didn't really kind of say that he would think about his technique maybe as much as I thought he was going to say. Like, do you kind of focus on technique a lot, or?
So as I was growing up in Cockermouth, there was a big kind of emphasis on technique. Every week we'd do like sessions just for, not always just backstroke, it was kind of all strokes, as it was kind of a junior program. Now we still do quite a lot of kind of drills and stuff, focusing on, for me, certainly getting that kind of catch at the top of your stroke and then pulling right down. And also hand entry, making sure that my hand entry is not over my head or it's not too wide. Just
for sure, yeah.
But I think once I kind of got that right quite quick, certainly last year as well. So a lot of what I kind of work on is maintaining that kind of technique when doing the big long sets, like 10-400s or 2100s or and stuff like that. I think that's where it makes a real difference when you're doing it under pressure, if that makes sense.
For sure.
So yeah, for me, that kind of technique and rhythm was kind of, and still is kind of incorporated into the sessions. Although we do spend time working on drills and quite a bit on starts and turns as well.
Yeah.
Camera systems. So.
Yeah, I used to hammer most of my drills with backstroke was the catch that you were talking about up here.
Yeah.
My entry would sometimes, it's weird how it sometimes wavers, isn't it? Like some days you'll be fine, and then some days you'll be coming across a little bit or too wide. But we used to hammer the catch. Like we used to, as soon as like we used to like with Sean, like we entered the water and I'd want to try and get the palm of my hand facing downwards.
Yeah.
So I think when people enter the water, they kind of push to the side too much instead of holding the water at the top here a little bit more. We used to hammer that drill. Like as soon as we entered the water, get that palm facing the bottom and really get that feel. And I just wonder whether people focus on it enough, especially for backstroke, because like one of the main things for backstroke is because it's over here, you can't see what you're doing over here.
Yeah.
You could, if you're doing a drill, you could turn and have a look and see where your hand is, see what it's doing. But, you know, when you're swimming and swimming at pace, you don't want to turn your head. Obviously, you want to try and keep it still. So I don't know whether people should maybe work a little bit more on thinking about how it feels to get that hand in the right position up there.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that because when I was at altitude, like October 2019, Sean actually came out and he noticed that I was entering over my head over here on my backstroke. So he kind of did some work with me on, I think he called it aero drill or something.
Yeah, aeroplane. I think we called it aeroplane drill. Aero drill. Yeah.
And then he kind of got me to kind of focus on getting that hand entering here rather than over here.
Yeah.
So to do that, he kind of got me to feel for the water at the top of my stroke, which for me was really helped me kind of get my head around it.
Yeah.
And so just entering at the top, like maybe 2 or 3 sculls before pulling down.
Yeah.
That was really useful for me.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favourite drills to do, actually, that one.
Yeah, same.
Because it's just getting you to understand the feeling of having the hand in the right position. And you do that still so you can feel it and you can feel what it's like to be in that position. Because obviously you can't turn, like on front crawl, it's a bit easy. You can enter and you can kind of like have a little look and see where your hand is. And backstroke, I think it's a bit more feely. I don't know about you with backstrokers, right? And I'm not being biased here or anything, but I find backstrokers actually really, really skillful swimmers. And I'm not just saying that, but generally across the board, like the swimmers that I've met that are backstrokers, I think they tend to be the most skillful swimmers. And I don't know why exactly, but what I mean by that as well is that they can do all the other strokes and they can do them pretty well. Someone like Gregor Tate, who I swam with for years, put a good 200 IM together. So did Liam Tancock. He put a really good 200 and 100 IM together. Could hit all the four. So whereas opposed to like a breaststroker, no offense to the breaststrokers, by the way, like breaststroke's probably my second best stroke. I love breaststroke. But breaststrokers tend to be just specifically breaststrokers, especially at an elite, at top end.
Yeah.
As you know, a 200 meters backstroker could maybe put together a pretty good 200 IM, or maybe even a good 200 freestyle. Some of them as well. I don't know if you've noticed that. Maybe I'm just making something up here, but
yeah. Well, I actually used to be a fly swimmer, so my fly's not too bad. My freestyle's okay. My breaststroke is. I couldn't agree with that.
So there's no IM for you then.
Well, I used to do a bit of IM when I was a junior, actually. I think I got a couple of medals at nationals and stuff. But yeah, like I've got my fly used to be pretty decent. I think I've won a couple of medals at nationals on fly. Freestyle, I wouldn't say it's great, but it's decent.
Have you always been a backstroker, by the way?
No, I used to be a fly swimmer when I was younger. So I think I transitioned when I was about 14.
Okay.
But yeah, my breaststroke's never been great. Were you always a backstroker or?
No, actually, no. I mean, I was breaststroke and IM were my number. I mean, IM really, but I mean, I was age group champion at 100, 200 breaststroke, 200, 400 IM. I medalled in 200 fly, 200 back as well. But no, I was a breaststroker, and I transitioned actually so I did European Juniors in 2001 in Malta, and I won the 200, 400 IM. And from that, so I was 18, and from that, and I broke the British record in the 400 IM. So I started getting paid there. That's when I turned pro, actually, when I was 18, when I broke that British record in the 400 IM. But from that year, from 18 to 19, from 2001 to 2002 for the Commonwealth Games, for some weird reason, all I wanted to do was train backstroke. I'm not 100% sure. A lad from Prescott called David O'Brien. I don't know if you remember Dave O'Brien, but he went up to Scotland and trained up there, I think I'm not sure with the Stirling lot, I think. But he swam out of Prescott, big Liverpool fan. But he would come over from Prescott and train with us. And he was like, for the 1983 borns, he was like the best backstroker at the time. And he would come over and I'd do some big backstroke sets with him. Like, I remember us doing, I think we did 32 50s backstroke, broken into blocks of 8. So we'd do 4 lots of 8. Yeah. And it was a reducing turnaround. So I think it was off 90, 80, 70, 60. And we had to try and hit 200 pace. And when we got to the end, oh man, it was horrible. I remember when we got to like the 70, me and Dave O'Brien head to head, I remember saying to Sean, like, I can't do this. I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to finish this set. And we got through it. But for that 1 year, I just wanted to hammer backstroke. And I'm not even sure what it was exactly that kind of wanted me to do it. So my transition was quite late, actually, man. I mean, I turned a backstroke/IM when I was 18, 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not like, I sometimes find in training that sometimes I do want to switch it up a little bit. Yeah. So we'll do quite a bit of like aerobic work, and if I can put on my fins and do a bit of IM, I quite enjoy doing that. It's quite nice to get a little bit of variance in the training, I find.
Definitely. Oh, 100%. Like if I did the same thing every day, it would drive me nuts. I mean, Rich will know, like I get bored so easy, like so easy. I'll get fed up really, really quick. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I was an IM swimmer growing up. I mean, because I'll ask you, are you super competitive? Like, are you very, very competitive?
Yeah, I'm quite competitive.
Yeah. I only ask that because I like mixing things up, especially as a junior. Well, actually, no, when I was a senior as well. Being a backstroker, actually winning backstroke races wasn't my favorite thing. Like because I was kind of expected to win. It was like, you know what I mean? Like, that's great. Like I do like winning the race, but I used to like getting on the blocks, racing the breaststrokers and beating the breaststrokers. Yeah. That was like, because then I could look across and they'd look at me and I would think that they were thinking that, backstrokers just beat me. And I'd be like, that would give me more pleasure. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? But that would give me more pleasure, like beating those guys. And some of my favorite races have actually been breaststroke races. I had a really good race at the Mare Nostrum in Barcelona. I did the 200 meters breaststroke, and in the final was Andrew Willis, Michael Jameson and I was second fastest qualifying the 200 breaststroke. And I wanted to beat these other English lads. I wanted to be, Willis and Jameson. That was my only thing in my mind. I didn't care what time I went. So I was like, down the back 50, I'm spinning on breaststroke, like gritting my teeth, doing whatever it takes. And I didn't beat MJ, but I beat Willis. I went 213 something or then MJ went like 211 mid. So he beat me about a second and a half. But I loved that race. Like I loved it. Like I beat Willis. I wasn't far away from Jameson, probably giving both a bit of a scare. But that kind of race really kind of really stuck with me.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you got any kind of races, like non-backstroke races, that you can like really think, oh no, you know what, we'll throw backstroke in there as well. Have you got like any races that you kind of think, like, I really enjoyed that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I usually enjoy racing. I think,
that European Youth Olympic one must have been.
Yeah. Obviously, that was massive. Like I really enjoyed that, but I think, like, kind of like you said, like when you've got a few people that you know in the race, like you with Willis and Jameson, I think there's a few backstroke lads coming through now as well. You got like Brody Williams, Nick Pyle, Joe Litchfield, Elliot Clogg, and like when I race with them, it's quite interesting because like obviously we're all competitive, we all want to win, but in the core room, it's not like we're all just kind of talking to each other, just like we're all really friendly with each other, and I really like that kind of atmosphere. So I've had a few races this season actually where I've been racing with them, like in Ireland and in Edinburgh, and yeah, it's really good to kind of like bounce off each other, if that makes sense. And like obviously we all want to win, we all want to beat each other, but we kind of push each other on. I feel.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's good for the British team as a whole in terms of backstroke as well. And I think there's a little bit of improvement for certainly that medley relay. And if I can push them on, they can push me on. I think it'd be really interesting and it'd be good for everyone.
Definitely. So yes, I mean, so like we go back to training, like what? You mentioned 10-400s IM as well, and we used to do. Ours was 10-300s every Monday morning. But have you got a favourite backstroke set that you used to do, or that you do? Like have you got like a favourite? We'll make it hard set as well. Like let's make it hard set. Like have you got like a favourite hard backstroke set that you like to do?
That's tricky.
No, hate it all. It's too hard. Yeah.
No. Favourite. I'm not sure. I've got a hardest set that I think I know.
Yeah, go on then.
So we did a set in Australia in January, and it's 32 50s, 3 on 1 off at 200 pace, off. I think it was off. So the ones that were on were off 60, and then the ones that were off 120 or 110.
Yeah.
The 32 of them, and then 400 easy, and then we did 24 2 on 1 off.
Oh my word!
At 100 backhand pace. That was pretty brutal.
Oh my word!
Yeah.
What's your target times for those 50s? Like,
so I was hitting around 29 low, 28 high for the 200 ones.
Yeah.
And then,
it's pretty quick for the easy ones if you're going to do that. That's pretty quick.
And then the 100 backhand pace, I think my target time was 27 points, but I think I was 28 lows, 20, maybe a few 27 highs. Yeah, that was tough. We did quite a good few sets in Australia as well. And one of the Aussie lads trained with us as well. He was a backstroker. So it was really good to have someone to bounce off, because in my training group at the minute there isn't any other backstrokers. So I mean I do the sets with other people, but it's not really the same as kind of having.
When you do those backstroke sets with the backstrokers, with the backstroke lad, did you go in the same lane or did you go next to each other?
Next to each other.
Yeah. Because I only asked that because doing the interview with some of the younger squad members from Wrexham and loads of groups actually. Something that I try and get across is like how competitive you've got to be in training. Like you've got to be competitive in training. So I say to them, like, if you've got, don't put all your freestylers in one lane. If you've got someone similar who's doing a similar time, like go next to each other and like have a go at each other. Do you know what I mean? Not like have a go, but you know, be competitive. Like go for it with each other. Like some of my best sets that I've ever done were pinning myself head to head. You know, like with like Stephen Parry, who was a tuna fly swimmer. you know, he would go 155, whereas I was about 157 at the time. But you know, it's similar-ish. Like we'd go like head to head and pin each other next week. I had great swimmers like Simon Birch, Steve Meller, who were really good backstrokers as well. We bounce off each other really well. But like I try and say, like, be competitive, put yourselves next to each other. Like I feel like you get more out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We used to do that all the time at Cockermouth. Sean always used to put us in lanes next to each other and race it up. And again, that kind of competitiveness and kind of, I mean, you can have a little bit of banter as well about it.
Oh, for sure. Oh man, all the time.
It like helps you bond, and it's really good. I think definitely helps people to kind of get the most out of their training.
Yeah, definitely. I remember because I've been retired. We say retired, don't we, in swimming? But I've been retired from competitive swimming for I think about 7 years now. Man, it's gone so quick. About 7 years. But I sometimes speak with Sean, my old coach, and we kind of like look back and go over memories and all that sort of stuff. And we talk about like the best year, you know, for training and like the best year that we raced and all that sort of stuff. And I think Sean more often than not will say 2003, 2004 was a really great year. You know, I kind of came fourth. Well, I didn't kind of. I came fourth at the Olympics. You know, I did swim pretty well, all things considered. But Steve Parry won a bronze. You know, Adi Turner made the Olympics and Graham Smith made the Olympics as well. You know, it's 4 swimmers from Sean's group. But I remember Sean saying, and I'd say to him, why was it the best year? Like, why was the best year for coaching for him? And he said that it was the easiest. Like, he didn't even have to really work hard. He said that like he could write the session, put it on the board, and almost just like sit back and watch us lads just go at it and like challenge each other and push each other in training. He said like he just had to hold the stopwatches and do the times. He didn't even have to really kind of motivate us. Very rarely told us off during that year. You know, coaches like to give you a bit of a grilling sometimes. Never really did that. But he said he knew we were going to swim well when during the swim down. So at the end, you know, if your coach gives you 400 easy, whatever it might be, just at the end, you know, a little bit of garbage yardage just to make it up to that 6K or whatever it might be. But, you know, we'd do that kind of like little bit extra. And he said that he knew that we were going to swim well because he'd be sitting there, and down the last length of the swim down, it's usually like me and Adi Turner, me and Steve would slowly get quicker and quicker, and we'd sprint the last 10 meters to see who could finish the session first. And he said he could just sit back.
I've done that 2 times.
We'll tie it up there, guys. I've just been listening to what you've had to say. There's actually some amazing kind of comments, some amazing information.
Rich, can I ask one more question to Luke?
Go for it.
Is that right? Right. So I wanted to ask this: like, have you ever had a time, right, in training or in a race where you've just felt like the best? Like, can you think of a time where you just think, right, oh, that, you know, that training set or that race that I did, I just felt so good in the water. Like, can you think of anything?
Yeah, there's been a few times actually. I think certainly, I mean, Baku for one. Actually, Sean Ballman, my old coach, actually says this is my best race to date. But the semi-final swim in Baku, where I went 157.5.
Right.
He actually says that's my best race ever. Still even now, just because it felt so easy and felt so smooth, and the pacing was. I know I went faster in the final, but the last 50 hurt a lot. But then, I mean, if I look back at kind of races that I've done kind of last season with World Championships and trials going 155, they were both kind of races where I kind of felt in the flow. And even this season, looking at kind of swim at Ireland where I went 157 in a morning swim, untapered, unshaved, and that, I was like, wow, I'm in a better place than I've ever been before. But also looking at kind of the training sessions that I was doing in Australia, I know this might be kind of me feeling a lot better because I'm in the sunshine and all that, but the sessions that I was churning out week on week like that, 3250s into 2450s and those big long aerobic sets, I think, like I said, that kind of built my confidence a lot, and I carried that momentum from session to session.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So why So why do you think you felt that good? Is it because of the training, like the build up, like you were just saying there?
I think so. Yeah, I would say like obviously you've got to be having a good day, but yeah, it was kind of a mix of kind of that build up from training, that confidence, also being in a group that kind of pushes you to be your best and you can have a laugh with as well. Like it is a hard sport, like you said at the start. It is a really tough sport to train for, but having like that group of people around you that makes it easier,
for sure,
has a huge impact on your training.
Yeah, I mean, mine's exactly the same. I mean, the best. I don't know even if Rich, because I've known Rich obviously for a long time from Stockport, but I don't know if Rich knows this, but like the best I've ever felt was Athens, by like hands down, the best I've ever felt. I mean, I was 21 at the time. It's not nowhere near the fastest I ever swam, actually. I swam faster in Delhi, I went 155 in Delhi. I was at 157 in Athens. But that's the best I've ever felt. Like you were just saying then, it felt so easy. It just felt so smooth. Like it didn't even feel like I was holding the water really well, but it wasn't forced. It wasn't like hurting. I wasn't like trying to overpace it, overstroke it, over kick it. I felt so good. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's exactly how I felt. It was the group that I was in, the team that I was in, the environment that was in, the training leading up to it was just absolutely spot on. Yeah. And everything kind of comes together, doesn't it? At the right time, which is great. And it's kind of weird because swimming's such a feely sport, isn't it? It's like you're constantly surrounded by water, so you rely on feel a lot. And it's really weird trying to explain it to like a non-swimmer, where you could feel amazing in training that week, and you could be like swimming really well, hitting times, and then when you get to a race, it doesn't quite feel right. And the opposite can happen as well. You can be training pants, feel rubbish, and then you get to race day and somehow it all just comes together. It's a little bit weird like that, I think.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. Like it is odd. I think there's stuff you can do to make yourself, not make us, but reduce the risk of feeling bad, if that makes sense. But yeah, it can go either way. Like I always find it is really weird, but for me, if I'm in a hard block of training, I'll do 3 weeks hard, and I'll just not breeze through it. I'll be tired, but I'll make through it and I'll train really well. Then we'll go on to a recovery week and I'll feel awful for that week. And I'll feel better. So it's kind of like, you're kind of feeling rubbish, stop, feel rubbish. But then when you come out of that, you feel up here. So you feel more.
Yeah, I think some coaches and sports scientists like to call it, is it adaptation? Where you go through that kind of adaptation and then you come out better the other side from like driving yourself into the ground. When you have a rest and you recover and your body changes from it, you're supposed to like take off. That's the theory, I guess, in some small way. Like just before we go, I know Rich is going to like cut us off. Like I know we've talked a little bit about backstroke and stuff like that. Like what's one big tip? Like hopefully a lot of juniors and adults hopefully and seniors maybe will be watching this. Like what's one kind of big tip you can like give people like to really? Because like you're a world medalist, like you won bronze medal at the Worlds last year, like. One of the best backstrokers in the world for sure. Like, what's like a big tip you can maybe give them?
For me, it would be kind of focus on that technique. That comes before anything else. So, like we were mentioning before about getting that catch at the top of the stroke, and also rotation plays a big part in backstroke. So, getting that catching arm deep in the water on your pull through. So, I would say technique comes before anything else. But also for younger swimmers, not necessarily a backstroke tip, but I would say work on all 4 strokes, because we both kind of said that. That's
what I was going to say. I was going to say that one.
Yeah, we both kind of said that. Well, I used to be a I used to be a breaststroker, so I think that's most important.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely would mirror exactly what you just said. I mean, I was going to say, especially for juniors, work on all 4 strokes. We've already heard like Luke say, you say that you were fly swimming until you're 14. I think a lot of 12, 13, 14-year-olds think, I'm a sprint freestyler, that's it, like, that's all I'm going to do. When it can definitely change. I was 18, 19 when I became a backstroker, really. But yeah, work on all 4 strokes for sure. I noticed as well, even as a senior, like, I really don't like free front crawl. Like, I don't like freestyle. Long distance freestyle sets are by far my worst. If my coach puts a long distance freestyle, first of all, he probably wouldn't do it. And if he did, I would say I'm doing it all backstroke, like I'm just doing it all backstroke. But I would quite often find if I got lazy with my other strokes, it would affect my good strokes as well. So if I got really lazy with my freestyle and just plodded up and down the pool and not do what I should be doing, which is, you know, focused on reach and catch and high elbow and finishing that stroke off and rotation in the stroke, head in a good position. If I didn't think about these sort of things, it would have an effect on my backstroke as well, for sure. Like now that I've finished swimming, I can really look back and think about it. I know for a fact that being lazy on my other strokes would have a negative effect on my good stroke, on my positive stroke as well. Yeah. So one of my tips as well would be to, even when you're doing a stroke that you don't like, try and focus on improving it and doing the right things, because all the techniques of all the strokes kind of overlap in a way. You know, catch phase and, you know, the recovery phase being natural. Like, you know, it's all head position, it all kind of overlaps. So that would be kind of my little tip, I guess, as well. But I'd mirror exactly what you said. I mean, it's absolutely spot on.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Just how honest you've been there in terms of your hindsight of your career so far and to date. So, yeah, thank you so much for your time. I massively appreciate it.
It's been great to chat. Cheers, Luke. All the best, All the best.
Yeah. Great chat. Thank you.